Hello, good Woch, everyone. Just to arrange the mute properly. There we go. Okay, so it's a Shabbos, a great Shabbos, the first Shabbos of Chodesh Nisan, right after Rabbeinu's birthday on Thursday. So here we go. Parshas Vayikra it was. We're starting with Ma'aseh of the Baal Shem Tov, the way we do every Motzei Shabbos. It was a Ma'aseh, a very famous Ma'aseh from the Choize of Lublin, when he was by Rebbe Baruch, he came to visit him. It was a very famous visit that ended actually with an explosion between the two of them. But he said that when he went to the Beis HaChaim, Baal Shem Tov, he said that he feels the illumination of the Beis HaMikdash. And Rebbe of Mezhebosh, who the Choize went to visit, used to go to the Tzion of the Baal Shem Tov, his grandfather, and crying out, Derech Sheker Hasa Mimeni, the way of falsehood, remove from me. And that was his davening, just remove the derech of sheker from me. And he used to daven this particular pasuk 100 times, and he would cry again and again and again. And we'll just have this Rabbi Yisrael Dov Ber, who is the Baal Yadis, the Klemke, the doorknob, the Sheretz Yisrael from Volodnik. It's called the Tzadik from Volodnik, and it's known that his tzion, he promised that anybody that needs deliverance will come to his tzion in Volodnik. He says when they touch the doorknob of his tzion, they will already, without Hashem, get whatever Yeshua they're looking for. So he was telling a story about the greatness of Emunah in Tzadikei Ador from the simple people, and how important it is for Kodesh Baruch Hu. He says it was a very simple Jew whose parnasa, lo aleinu, was from stealing. That's what he was doing. Now the thing is that he would steal only from goyim, and he would not steal from Jews. One time, it so happens that, as it happened to thieves, of course, he was in a great sakana to be caught and sent to jail. Immediately he went to Baal Shem HaKodesh and told him everything. So the Baal Shem HaKodesh told him that he was saved from everything. And so it happened again and again and again. And this person was obviously a very, very simple person, but he had a tremendous emunah in the Baal Shem Tov. One time, he stole a really big sum by some kind of lord, and people snitched on him. And this lord, investigated it, and this thief felt that he's in great danger of being exposed. So he decided to go to Baal Shem HaKodesh. It was then that he found out Baal Shem HaKodesh already passed away, and he cried a lot, for this Messiah, because that was his get out of jail free card, going to Baal Shem Tov. So he heard from the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov after his talkus of the Baal Shem Tov. He says that the Yaakov Yosef of Polnoe, the Baal told us, he's going to be his mamshech der. He will continue his. So this thief went to the rabbi of Polnoe and told him the story. When the rabbi of Polnoe heard the story, he just pushed him away. A thief? What do you expect me to get you pushed him away. He threw him out of the house, didn't even want to give him a bracha. Even though the thief implored with him and cried, nothing doing, just sent him away. At that moment, this thief, decided he's going to Mezhimash. He's going to Tzimmer Baal Shem Tov, and he cried on his graveside. And he looked at him, Rebbe, the way that you saved me so many times, please save me again. Before Hashem is Baruch, that I'll be saved from this particular problem. Baal Shem Tov came to him in a dream while he was sleeping on his graveside. He says, what are you looking for? He told him everything that happened. He says, who did you go to? So he says, he went to Polnoah, told us Yaakov Yosef, and he pushed him away. Baal Shem HaKadosh told him, listen, you go to my grandson, the Befloim of Sadlikov, who is Baal Sefer Dega Machne Ephraim, and tell him in my name, you do a teva. And he says, give him this particular sign that I will give you so that he will believe you, that I sent you, that last week was Pashas Korach, and I learned with him the Divrei Torah that he was supposed to say at his Tish. Well, the people tell him this simon and said that I sent you to him. You should do me a favor, but Hashem, you should be saved from this. Immediately when that person woke up from his sleep, remember the dream, he went to the Rabbi Kodesh, the firm of Sadlikov. He came and told him what happened. They told the Rebbe from there, they told us, pushed him away, told the Baal Shem HaKadosh, who would do him a favor while he was still alive, always helped him. Now he went to the Tzion and he cried till the Baal Shem Tov came to him in a dream and told him the simon. When the Sadlikov Rebbe heard the story and he saw the simon, he was obviously, he was blown away. He knew that was the truth. And immediately he had promised him that he will never fail. And the Rebbe from Sadlikov told his Hasidim this thing. And he said, you should see how great and how powerful is the koich of emunas tzadikim. Of just a simple person, a ganav, a thief, gave me an irrefutable sign from the Baal Shem Tov, from my grandfather. So I had to do what the Baal Shem Tov said. He said to promise that nothing bad will happen to him, and I had to bless him. And this was the bracha it's what happened. Nothing. He was never caught. That brings up a whole different mahalach. Like, you would come to thinking that this is what tzadikim have to do. They're supposed to be, spring thieves from jail. This is their job. I mean, what's the time in this whole thing? The answer is that we don't know. The answer is we don't know. That particular person was supposed to live that kind of life. Baal Shem Tov knew it, and that's the reason why he promised him that he will forever, be protected. The fact that he didn't steal from Jews obviously had a lot to do with it, but it still remained a mystery. Like, find yourself a different career. That's the career that you took. We do not understand. We don't understand why other people have to go through whatever it is they're going through. So, B'ezrat Hashem, schusat again aleinu, we're not always 100% perfect. I mean, we're very close, but not 100% perfect. Beseder gamur. Baruch Hashem. By the way, I want to repeat it again to all who are here, and I'll probably have to repeat it if other people other people come. I have to repeat it again. Here's Rabbi Feldbaum also came. Okay, the thing is like this, that the Motzei Shabbos Shir, because of Shaun Kites, is going to be at 9:00. However, the Shurim on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday will remain at 8:00 because it's sort of like shares with other people's schedules. They go to other Shurim afterwards. So I mean, in the beginning, we thought it was going to be 9 o'clock across the board, so people won't be confused and so forth and so on. But nevertheless, I think that this is the way we're going to do it. Motzei Shabbos is 9 o'clock, and during the week, and it's Hashem at 8 o'clock. And now, okay, now we are. This is a particular story that was told. Let me just open up. Hold on, just a second. I need to open up the shir for the Sochos Haran. Give me a sec. I'm sorry to keep the Olam waiting. 1 second. So we could just go. Here we go. Okay. Sochos Haran is 171, as far as I can remember. Okay. Here we go. And so this particular story, a wondrous story, was told by an old man with a big Talmud Chacham from the sages of Yemen. He says that this particular Maisa was mekubal by them from previous generations. We must be talking, I don't know, we're talking about hundreds of years ago. It was, in the olden days, there was one of the kings in Yemen, was a big Rosh in Sunni Israel, who, I mean, not that this is a great surprise. This is, a recurring theme in history. He was looking for an excuse to jump on the Eden in his country and annihilate them. Now, why he had to have an excuse for that, I have absolutely no idea. What was the crucible that kept him away from just doing whatever he wanted? But that was the story. That in Pamachad, it's found out that what it says, Bibi Chazal, in Ksubis, the famous Ksubis, Omid Kaf Gimel, that the Kodesh Baruch Hu has sworn Am Yisrael three oaths that when he drove them away to the exile, that they should not, mutiny, don't make a mutiny against the nations. And he was very upset about this when he heard about it, because he says that from this, you can see the pride of the Jews that are so sure of themselves that had they wanted to, they could revolt against the king, that there have to be a special oath that the Kodesh Baruch Hu has made him take. They should not revolt against the nations. I mean, if they wanted, they could, but they shouldn't. And this made them very, very upset. What the heck do they think they are? So he found this is. He said, "This is what he was looking for." He called the Jewish Chacham and said, "If this is so that you have the capacity to revolt against me, I want to test this out. Let's check it out. I'm appointing a day, setting a day that I will put together all my soldiers with all their weapons, and you will come with all your weapons, and you will come with everything you have, and you fight against my armies or whatever is the guardian, his guard or whatever, and the side that will win against the other has the permission to totally annihilate and destroy and finish the other side." Nothing that the Jews could say helped. The king set the date, and the Jews saw that they're in such a trouble. They obviously davened to Kodesh Baruch Hu to save them, and they had an eitzah. The eitzah was that anybody who knows, where Yemen is, in the Arab Peninsula, he knows from one side there's a border. It borders within a huge desert And in that particular desert is part of the 10 tribes of Israel. They decided, and we know about this also. Rabbi Binyamin Mitudela met them in India, and he says nobody knew who they were. They only knew that everybody was scared out of their wits out of them. They would ride horses, which is not a frequent thing in India, and they would absolutely terrify everybody around them. And they say that this is from the 10 tribes of Israel that were exiled. But anyhow, it says if they knew that a part of the 10 tribes was in the desert, I think it's Saudi Arabian desert, and this is where they are. So they decided to ask them to help. It's a very far trip. It's a very dangerous trip. By the trust B'ezrat Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu to be matzliach, their shaliach will get there alive, and B'ezrat Hashem they'll have Yeshua. One person went. He went through the desert, went through all the dangers. Kadosh Baruch Hu helped him. Mamish me'al hateva. Baruch Hashem, he got there in peace. And he told them of all the trouble that they went through. Again, I will repeat the announcement I made before. Mirza Hashem, because of this summer clock, 9 o'clock, Motzi Shabbos will be 9 o'clock. All the different shiurim, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday will remain at 8 in Mirza Hashem. Because people, made schedules for that. So he told these people from Sesa Shvorim about this, the big tzara and the sakona of destruction of the Jews of Yemen. They became very worried. So what to do? Now, the son of those people from Sesa Shvorim, the king had a son, and he said to his father give him reshus, he himself will go with this Jew back to Yemen. He says, trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu bevada, you'll be able to help them. One person. Okay? His father gave him reshus. He took 2 horses, one for him, one for the messenger from Yemen. And took 2 swords and enough food for the road. And he went to Yemen. But because the road was, very long, and a lot of time passed, and the Jews in Yemen saw that the messenger did not come yet, and that date is coming closer and closer. They were certain that their messenger was lost. So, and Benkach that day came, and the messenger and the son of the king of that part of Sesa Shvatim still did not arrive. So they were sure they were finished. That's it. They're toast. And this wicked king was already ready in the morning with his army, and he put the Jews, for a little further away from him, and waited for the allotted hour. But the Kodesh Baruch Hashem helped them that the Ben Melech, were from Asesa Shvatim, and the Shaliach came to them. They came before the allotted hour. When the Yidden saw them, they're excited, and so it was. Immediately when that prince, the son of the king from the Asesa Shvatim, he came riding a horse, and he saw this wicked king standing there with his army, with his guard, whatever it is, to fight the Jews. He became very excited. And he felt it, slabish with ruach of gvura. Immediately he said a shame. Now we're talking about practical Kabbalah. And he jumped with his horse. In other words, he what do you call it? He levitated. He transported with his horse between the soldiers of the king of Yemen with 2 swords in his hand, and fought them for a very short time and killed practically anybody. They couldn't even touch him. And he jumped against the king, and they wanted to kill him as well. Now that king, the Russian, was extremely scared, fell, on his knees and begged for his life. So that prince from the Asesa Shvatim told the king, now you see that what Chazal said was 100% true. It is in the power of the Jewish people to revolt against the nations. Because it was just me, a young man, and I fought with all of you, and I could have killed all of you. It's only the oath that we swore to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is preventing us. And the king admitted this is the truth. And he's promised that from that moment on, he'll be kind to all the Jews with all his heart and will honor them and will do whatever it is he can in order to bestow goodness on them. And then this Ben Melech said goodbye to him and went to his country, with tremendous simcha, was able to save the Jews of Yemen. You can imagine how many Gedolim, the Rashash, the rest of the Yemenite Gedolim, it was because of this particular episode. And that king of Yemen has kept his word all the days of his life. And while he was still alive, the Jews of Yemen lived a good, peaceful life. And now, Birshuschem, we're going to get to the biography of Rabbeinu Arizal. This is not just a short story where we sell Meiser with beginning, middle, end, and finish it. This is a rolling Meiser, what happened in his life, and with different kind of the Gedolim that lived in that time and what was going on. So every once in a while we deviate. Baruch Hashem, it's all Meiser tzadikim, it's all Kodesh Kodeshim. So we have already mentioned that the Arizal found that Sefer Kabbalah last week. He found the Sefer Kabbalah by this Marano that came to Egypt. He didn't even know what it is that he had. And Arizal bought it from him. And from now on, to get all the madrigas that he needed to achieve, Arizal decided that he is leaving this entire world the way it is, and anything, just that's it, nothing from this world anymore. And he chose to sit in a place that was far away from town, and he brought all his farmer brought there, and he sat and learned, day and night, without any disturbance. All the days of the week, he would spend learning Kabbalah, and towards Shabbos Kodesh, he would return home. And I remember reading that from Bali Kaplan, that Arizal used to meditate on different psukim from the Zohar. He would take different things from the Zohar Kodesh and would meditate on them again, repeating it again and again and again, until he was showed Mishamayim, what the inner meanings of this was. And the deeper that he got in Kisvei Kabbalah, the higher his soga became. In the Nister, he found himself in need to sanctify himself more and more and more. So during the first years of being parshed and being totally separated, he already, Baruch Hashem, achieved amazing Torah mysteries and great asagas, many of them who he wrote down, and amongst them is the Perush of Arizal on Sefer Tzniusa. Sefer Tzniusa is in the Sefer Azar. There are 5 chapters of Sefer Tzniusa. Rabbeinu HaKadosh has 5 Torahs on each of those, or it's one pasuk, and says entire Torah on it. The Sefer Tzniusa is attributed to Yaakov Avinu, Olav Shalom. Sefer Tzniusa is L'maisa what the Mishnah is to Halacha. The Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha, Poskim, whatever it is. But the Mishnah is everything starts with the Mishnah. The Mishnah is indisputable. What the Mishnah is to Nigla The Safed Tzniusa is to the Nista. That's the Mishnah of Teres Nista. Shlita. The Tzafed Tzniusa, and he says this is the as one of the earliest Sifrei Kabbalah. The Zohar Kodesh already, to Parshas Truma is when it starts, and it's attributed to Yaakov Avinu. It's the words of Tzniusa are completely opaque, and that's why Arizal, learned it so deeply in it. And when he started, learning the Kabbalah, one of the first things he did was to write a Perush so people can learn it. After 7 years of being totally away in his Beidadus, as we mentioned before, Ariel decided that it was time to add more Kedusha. And to get to Madrega Ruach HaKodesh, he took himself a totally separate home, very, very far from, where the rest of the people, and on the bank of the Nile. And there he sat alone, in Tainas Dibor, no Dvorim B'Telem at all. Only Erev Shabbos before Chashecha, he would come home for a very short time. And he conducted himself with Kedusha Yisera, with total sanctity. He wouldn't speak with anyone, except for a very, very great and pressing need, and only Lashon Kodesh, and very tersely, just, a few words, and that's it. And Lel Shabbos, he would come back to the house on the Nile, and the place is called Mitzrayim Yoshon, the old Egypt, while his wife and children lived in Mitzrayim Chodesh in the new Egypt, which was a place that was closer to Chum Shabbos, to where he made his Beidados. Now, where he was sitting was not far from the station, from the customs station, and his father-in-law was the one in charge. He owned the concession, from the king of Egypt. He was responsible for the customs according to the agreement that he had with the government, and he put in that station 20 of his clerks in order to receive, payments for people who are coming into Egypt to pay customs, and he also put it upon them, made it incumbent upon them to take care of all the needs of his tzaddik, of a son-in-law that is sitting not far and sitting and learning. So like this, Arizal, Baruch Hashem, was free from any kind of worry. He didn't have to, muscle himself completely, to learn Sisur Torah. Shabbos, Leila Shabbos, he came a short time with the people of his house, and again, he would close himself in this dir without seeing a person. Only when the time of tefillah came, the people of his father-in-law would come knock on his door, so they can come with him to a minyan. And the neshama of Rabbeinu Arizal was constantly, wandering in Onemus and Lyonim, and it had to squeeze down and sort of bring himself down a little bit in order to be mishtatev with tefillah b'tzibur. But immediately he came back to his minyanim, totally separated from the in olam hazeh. And besides that, he says that besides giving all the powers of his body that they put on the Torah and the avodah, the endless avodah on his midah, Arizal knew that no matter how hard he worked, without a special siyata d'shmaya, he will never be able to get to the madrigas that he was looking for. So he used to fast a lot and cry a lot and beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to help him to get to where he needs to get. And he told him, and Arizal once told his Talmidim, amazing thing, he says, for every single secret that they revealed to him in the Shemayim, he would cry as many tears as there were hair in his beard. As many hairs that he had in his beard, this is how many tears he had to shed for every single secret they revealed to him in the Shemayim. And once, when he became famous already, first of all, when great Talmidei Chachomim would come to him and look from him to get, to learn from Divrei Torah and to hear the secrets that he taught his Talmidim, Chaim Vital. What Rabbeinu Arizal would do is first he would ask permission, Mishamayim, to teach those, and if he wouldn't get it, he would not teach. And his Talmidim saw that for every single thing that he did, he had to cry endlessly until, B'ezrat Hashem, he got his what he wished for. And after all these achanas, all this was just preparations. And after all these preparations in Limud, Navodas Hamidus, and Tefillah, finally Arizal was zoche that the kval, the fountains of Chochmah were open to him. Eliyahu Novi was sent Mishamayim to learn with him and to learn Sisher Torah with him. And not only this, when he was more than that, when he would sleep, his neshama would go up to the Shemayim, get to Masifta, the Rakia, the Beis Midrash, in the Rakia, in the Shemayim, and over there there's a Malach that is in charge of Onishmas Yisrael, and asking. There's no told that particular. He said it himself. He would ask the Arizal, who does he want to learn with? Whose yeshiva does he want to learn with? Sometimes he would learn in the yeshivas of the writers of the Zohar. This is the Tanoim or Babnuna Saba or Yeva Saba. And from them, he got the secrets of Divrei Zohar that he actually learned during that day, when he had problems of finally ascertaining what the secrets of this particular Zohar was. When he was asleep, he went to the yeshivas of those Tanoim Kedoshim, and he would learn from them what the pshat was. And sometimes he chose to go to the yeshiva Betzalel ben Uri ben Chur, the builder of the Mishkan, or Aaron HaKohen, and he would perceive the sodas that are hidden in the Maisa Mishkan, in the Veis HaMikdash, every single prat. Why was the Mishkan built the way it was? Why the Veis HaKohanim was the way it was? Other opportunities he chose to learn in the Yeshiva of the Nevi'im. There he learned about all the everything, all the remazon in the prophecies. According to the choosing of Arizal, the Malach would get into and put him before his rabbis, and that's why Arizal was able to attain that which was beyond human capacity to attain. And Arizal said before his Talmidim, if they would be zoche, by the way, Rabbeinu was saying very much the same thing. If there would be zoche, he would fix them with such perfection until they will also be able to learn Torah in Masifta Derakia, the yeshiva in the heavens. And he said that 80 years of this world were not enough to write what Arizal would attain in one night. And all those years of his Isbeidus, Eliyahu would come to him and reveal Sisur Torah that could not be revealed from the days of Shimon Bar Yochai. Ad Kan, the biography of Arizal for this week. Not Hashem, we'll go now to Sochos Haran, and we'll go to Sicha 171. And now we're talking, this is basically a continuation. Just a second, this is not what I want to do. I wanted to share it with you. So hold on. Let's just share the screen. Here we go. Okay. So Reb Nosson says, Shamati mi Rabbi Yudel Zer Tzadik Livrocha. He was one of Rabbeinu's most important Talmidim. that he himself heard, that he heard from Rabbeinu HaKodesh, that glorified himself, that it says that he is a tremendous chiddush. In other words, he's like one of a kind in the in of breaking the taivas. That somebody as young as him would completely break all the taivas, would get out of all the taivas. And he says, and this thing is usually, the tzadikim would already, leave all the taivas. And he says it was something that there's some older tzadikim, actually left all the taivas, but this didn't happen until they became old. And he gave an example for a few older tzadikim that he knows that they did not exit all the taivas until they became old. But somebody who was as young as I, Mamash, he was, talking about during his before his bar mitzvah. This is what was happening, that he would break all his taivas the way he did. This is something which is en banin tzakla. This is totally unfound. And all the tachlis completely is how he's far from all the taivas. He says, for instance, to eat, he was completely nimas. He had to force himself to eat. But just remembering what is happening with the food and what becomes of the food, it would, just eating alone would disgust him. But he had to eat. So in order to be able to eat, he had to totally think about something else. And sometimes he would speak while eating just to be able to eat Beis Chadas and not think about what he was doing. Because for him to eat was something that disgusted him, this Gashmi's thing. He says, but he had to do it because you have to put some food in the body so the body can exist. And he says, because eating Taivas Achila was very, very difficult for him. And he says in the Inyan of Taivas Mishkal, the Taivas of women, he says, it's already in a different place. Rabbeinu said that the Inyan of the muse of that taiva, which we call the known taiva, the famous taiva, this is something Rabbeinu says anybody that is a little bit of a chacham, amiti, a real smart person who is even vaguely aware of the anatomy that is involved in that. He says it's already befitting that taiva will be something that will be so repellent from him. It will repel him so much that he will have absolutely nothing what to do with it. And he said that with Shlomo HaMelech, they said, we had, 1,000 wives, women. 300 were his wives and 700 were concubines. So he says, obviously somebody, Shlomo HaMelech was he was the wisest of all men. So obviously, the Kedusha, Shlomo HaMelech had nothing to do with the taiva of women. It had nothing to do with that. The fact that he did it, Shlomo HaMelech did it for a totally different reason. Shlomo HaMelech was the archetypical model for Melech HaMashiach. Shlomo HaMelech wanted, by the way, that was his mistake, as it were. I mean, that's not me to say a mistake, Shlomo HaMelech, but the Torah says it, so I can say it too. And so the Torah says, "V'lo yabel lo noshim," that he should not have, too many wives. And Shlomo HaMelech said, being that he was as wise as he was, he says, I will take many wives, and I'll tell you soon why. And he says he shouldn't tell wives that his wives, he'll take so many wives, his wives will sway his heart. So HaMelech says, no, he doesn't have to worry about it. He can take as many wives as he will, and it would not sway his heart. The Torah came to Kodesh Baruch Hu and said, how can that be? It was said to me, it says in me that the king should not get so many wives in order that they should not sway his heart. And here comes Shlomo HaMelech. It says that he can get these many wives and they would not sway his heart. So because Baruch Hu said Mishamayim is a nachon, and whatever happens, it says about Shlomo HaMelech. And when Shlomo HaMelech became older, his wives swayed his heart. The Gemara says that Shlomo HaMelech would have rather been a street sweeper, rather, somebody who works in Roto-Rooter, cleaning latrines, then that the Torah should write about him, that when he got old, the women, his wives, swayed his heart. Torah says that since he was not moichel, he didn't protest. The Torah says as if it swayed his heart. Now, the reason why he took all these wives was the Melech HaMashiach. The Melech HaMashiach is going to bring peace to the entire world. How will Melech HaMashiach bring peace to the entire world? When there is a king in a specific country, and people are happy with their leader, so that country is in peace between themselves. Now, the reason why two countries are not in peace with one another, because each one has a different king. But what would happen if a second country would accept the king of the other country because they see that he's so great and he's so good that he should be their king as well? So obviously, between those two countries, there would be no war. Now, what happened if a third country would join? And we says, wow, this king is so unbelievable. He has answer for everything. He enables everybody to live, in peace and in prosperity. And this is, something, we want to accept him as our king as well. And there would be peace, and therefore you have peace between the three countries. Shlomo HaMelech took as wives the daughters of the kings of the nations at that particular time. He was the Edom. He was the son-in-law of all the kings around the time, and his husband was, once he was their son-in-law, obviously there'll be no war between them, and they will be closer to accept him, and Melech HaMashiach, as the king of all the land, and peace should come to the entire world the way it should have been, because the Malchus of Shlomo is the perfect Malchus. This is the Levana was Shlomo's. Now we're talking about Rabbeinu HaKadosh, that it was totally clean from the Taiva. Baruch Hashem, this is extremely important for us to know. We need to have emunas tzadikim in Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Now the thing is that Rabbeinu HaKadosh keeps telling us all these things about him, and for some of us it may sound like, why is he telling this to me? Like, why is he poking me in the eye? Why does he have to say these things about himself? The reason is that for Rabbeinu himself, it doesn't make a difference. We believe him, we don't believe him, it makes no difference. The thing that makes difference is for us. As long as we hear a Maisa from Rabbeinu, or a Dibur from Rabbeinu, and Dibur from Rabbeinu many times is very provocative, like that thing we just read. When he said, what do you have to say about it? Why do you have to boast what's going on? Now, the point is, when we feel that inner resistance, is, hey, why are you saying that? This is for us, assuming the question is, who's wrong here? Is Rabbeinu wrong for telling us? Or am I wrong for feeling the resistance? Now, if I'm foolish, so who the heck is he? Why do you have to tell me this? But if I'm wise, as Rabbeinu says in Torah Hey, in Sochos Haran, and I see that I have a kasha on the tzaddik, why is he supposed to tell me that? Why am I supposed to hear that? What's going on here? And something in me revolts against it. That means that there's still a stain on my neshama. There's a stain on neshama. I simply need to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu and beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove that stain. I don't know what that stain is. Usually it has to do with, with that particular title. But whatever it is, I have to beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please wash it from me. Please remove it from me. And how do I know that that stain is removed? When the resistance to what Rabbeinu is saying, I don't feel it anymore. I just take it as something which is self-explanatory. If he says so, that's the way it is. That's what is supposed to be said. And the reason why, if we would hear the same thing from a Baruch of Mezhebos, or the Rebbe of Lemelech, or the Choiz of Lublin Schusat Hagen Aleinu, no problem, sure. But it comes from Rabbeinu, Suddenly there's resistance. Why? Because our entire tikkun is told in him. How? Why? Between you and me, it doesn't matter. We can see, Baruch Hashem, we're talking about Avodas Hashem already since Baruch Hashem, since Corona started until today, we have over 1,000 shiurim on YouTube that we have put together, all of us. This is going to stay in this world. After we leave this world, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, they'll still be there. We have left the world with a treasure of over 1,000 shiurim, and everything is the koach of the tzaddik. The koach Rabbeinu. How did he do it? What did he have to do? It's not my worry. I don't have to worry how my computer works. I don't have to worry about it. It's not my concern. This is what the tzaddik is. Arizal said to his talmidim, if you listen to me, I'll be able to do it for you. Rabbeinu said the same thing. And he said it in his usual, provocative, you can say, no, it would bluntly, no ifs, ands, or buts way. And he said as follows, and this is very important, they'll take it to heart. And he said, when a person, after 120 years, will leave this world, they will be lying on the floor with his feet pointing to the door. This is what they do with people who pass away. He says the person would know for sure, 100%, that if he would have listened to me while he was alive and do whatever it is I tell him to do, there would have been no madrega in the world that I would not have brought him to. He would have reached all the madregas. He says, but then it will be too late. Too little, too late. B'ezrat Hashem, Chodesh Nisan, there's no tachnun, preparing for Pesach. As I said one more time again, Motzei Shabbos, the shurim are going to be 9 o'clock. During the week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, they will be at 8 o'clock, B'ezrat Hashem, the way it was until now. I want to wish you all good Shabbos and B'ezrat Hashem, preparation for Pesach, for Chag Cheirus, for coming out of whatever it is we need to come out of. A glorious shkoyach to everyone and a fantastic week.